Hey there. Today I'm going to explore a very interesting question that was sent to me. Namely, is there a Hermetic equivalent of OM? So OM is a sacred word in the yogic tradition, said to be the word that underlies the whole of existence and even created the whole of existence. It's used as a mantra, if not the ultimate mantra, whereby the yogic practitioner will repeat Om with regularity and an unmoving, a steady focus in order to raise their consciousness to new heights. Many people have actually contemplated on whether there is a equivalent in the Hermetic or Western tradition at large. And the most common comparison is to do with the vision of Hermes and the story of creation in Hermeticism. So when Hermes experiences his vision, he goes into a state of deep meditation, and right at the beginning he sees beautiful, pure, divine light start to condense into a more dense levels of existence. And at that point he hears a unintelligible word, like a moan, come forth. And understandably, many people have wondered if that moan sounded like this. Om. And that Hermes, not being educated in the Indian tradition, just saw this as a noise rather than a word of sorts. Other people have compared Om to a slightly different area of the Hermetic creation myth, whereby the word, logos, the order, enters into existence, giving the underlying divine structure and laws to everything. But I believe the person who kindly sent this question was actually thinking more practically. They were interested in knowing whether there were any special words or phrases or techniques involved repeating a certain phrase or noise that would bring around a positive effect or be used in Hermetic training. And there certainly is. So if we read the ancient papyri of the Western tradition, we see many different powerful phrases used. And some of them are just used as a firm statement of intent or to bring a particular influence. But others are used with repetition. One that stands out as the most powerful, respected and effective is the use of the singing of the 7 vowels. So the 7 Greek vowels were connected with the 7 notes and the 7 planets. And we know from accounts that when sung by the practitioners of the Egyptian tradition, it was beautiful and actually sounded like a musical instrument or the sound from a higher, a more pure place. If you read the initiation and indeed self-initiation rites, they often use this phrase. And some authorities assert that a different musical note was put to each of the different vowels. if this is true, then the practitioners in those days were far more musically skilled than most of us are nowadays. Because trying to actually sing each different letter on a different note is so cumbersome a technique that it really gets in the way of the state of mind, at least from my own observation and experience. So this phrase was used as a means to raise the consciousness. It was seen as a phrase that would help you step up the different planetary spheres, both inside yourself and maybe even externally, so you could visit these different places. Other texts say that this is the spell or the hymn that is sung upon your birth as your soul goes down through the planetary spheres and takes on the qualities of the personality that you are to have, and that you can use it to lift back up. I believe, however, that this was used very differently than we would see mantras. I believe often it was in a group, and it was most certainly ecstatic. So rather than having a repetition that helps change the consciousness by the purity of its regularity and focus, this was used ecstatically. You are going to increase your awareness, increase your emotional dedication. You're going to lift your conscious into a higher sphere with each and every repetition. You can imagine how powerful in a group this would be. And with each repetition, stepping higher and higher, you would move towards a climax, a culmination, a spiritual vision at the end. The feel of it is more shamanic than yogic. I'm going to put a link to an article about this practice in the description box below. But please stay tuned to this video for a demonstration of how I feel this singing of the sacred 7 vowels would have been performed.